Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast. And today we have two guests, Greg Brouwer, who's the Senior VP of Technical, and Andrea Leroux, who's the Head of Digital Analytics at Teck Resources, who are one of Canadia's leading mining companies with operations and projects in Canada, the United States, Chile, and Peru. We're going to talk about how Teck Resources have used the power of artificial intelligence to generate value in the mining industry, and about some exciting recent developments that they've gone through. We're recording this episode shortly after the Resourcing Tomorrow conference in London, which was a few weeks ago, where Greg shared some examples of what Teck have been up to in that space. So obviously I'm excited to hear some additional details directly from Greg and Andrea. So that's both welcome Greg and Andrea to the podcast. How you doing, guys?
Doing very well, Rob. Thanks so much for having us today.
Yeah, and I appreciate both your times as well. So as we always start these podcasts off, I wonder if you both can just tell us a little bit about yourselves, a little bit about your career, about your background, before we go into some more questions.
Certainly, Rob. Well, my name is Greg Brouwer, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Technical at Teck Resources Limited here in Vancouver, British Columbia. A bit about myself. I'm kind of rare, I guess you could say, nowadays, in that I have worked for the same company for 27 years now, including a couple summer jobs prior to joining Teck. As I mentioned, Teck is based here in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. We're a diversified mining company with most of our assets focused on base metals and metallurgical coal, with operations up and down the Americas.
Yeah, no, that's great. And Andrea?
Yeah, good morning, Rob. Andrea Leroux. I'm also with Teck Resources, Head of Digital Analytics in Vancouver. I've been in the mining industry for 16 or 17 years now, losing track of years, and 10 of those years with Teck. But most of my background is in capital projects, and I joined Greg's team 2.5 years ago in what was our Race 21 program. And so I think we'll talk more about that today.
Yeah, certainly. Greg, I was going to ask you, you've been with the company for 27 years. Now, as a recruiter, I don't see someone being at a company that long. And I imagine you would have seen a lot of things during that time. And obviously the company grown from where it started. What changes have you seen, and I suppose major changes, over those 27 years?
Yeah, well, great question. I think it's one of the more exciting things that draws us to this industry is that we're not a static industry. We're constantly changing. And with respect to my experience at Teck specifically, I'll never forget when I was in university and the mining engineering department got up in front of us as students, making the pitch for why we should join the mining industry. And they said, well, listen, this is the reality. You're going to be able to get a job. You're going to be promoted faster, make more than your peers, and travel the world. And I thought to myself, well, sign me up. That sounds fantastic, because I didn't have any background or experience in mining before that. And in joining Teck, it's been an incredible experience. I have traveled the world. I've been given all sorts of really exciting opportunities to do a wide variety of things. As I indicated, I have an engineering background, mining engineering background originally, and spent a lot of time in operations. And here we are today talking about digital transformation and AI in mining, which is the thing I've been able to focus on the most recently. So all sorts of diverse experiences.
Yeah, and that's certainly a good advert for people outside of the mining industry to get into the mining industry, whether it's someone already in a different industry or even a graduate. So yeah, that's certainly a selling point for the industry. Travel the world and do many things within our industry that a lot of people probably outside of our industry are certainly unaware of, and perhaps we'll cover some of that during our conversation. So first of all, Greg, it's my understanding that Teck restructured a little bit earlier this year. bringing together a few different functions under the banner of technical. Can you just tell us a little bit more about the change and what the technical team does at Teck?
Yeah, certainly, Rob. So prior to about 3 months ago, we had a number of our technical resources separated into some different groups. And really the two big groupings were in the digital technologies and sort of the non-digital or the conventional engineering disciplines. And what we did 3 months ago is we brought all those people together under one banner. So today in our technical group, we have the disciplines that we're all very familiar with from decades of mining around mining engineering, processing engineering, reserves, resources, etc. But then sitting alongside that group are all of our digital professionals. So people in our digital analytics team, which Andrea works in, our innovation group, our autonomy group, IT, OT, cybersecurity. So our technical group has now brought all of these professionals together.
That's great. Andrea, Greg obviously mentioned digital analytics, which obviously you lead and as part of the technical team. What's the mandate of your team and how does that tie into Teck's overall purpose?
Yeah, great question. At a most basic level, digital analytics is Teck's in-house software development capability. And so we serve Teck strategy by building and deploying high-value enterprise-grade digital products to help our sites meet or exceed plan. And really, it's about providing stable and predictable outcomes at our operations. What sets us apart from the more traditional digital systems teams typically, and also at Teck, is that we focus on solutions that provide or leverage, I should say, AI, machine learning to provide solutions that describe, predict, and prescribe actions to improve sustainable production. So it's really about leveraging that big data in a way that drives value across our organization and beyond. And the way in which we support Teck's purpose is really about, focusing on what's most important to our business, and that's copper growth. So our solutions aim to support our copper growth strategy, both within Teck, but then also looking at how we can support copper growth outside of Teck as well.
Okay, I've got a question for both of you. Probably Greg will answer this first. Obviously, you work in a highly advanced team working on leading technology in the industry, but neither of you have sort of come from a technology or innovation sort of background. How did your sort of previous experiences prepare for this particular challenge?
Yeah, well, this is actually, I think, a really important basis and reason for why Teck has seen some of the successes that we have. When we first started looking at digital opportunities and digital transformation as a company back in 2018, on one hand, we were excited, but on the other hand, honestly, we were a bit concerned because if we looked across our industry, we had seen a lot of other mining companies that had gone before us attempting to really leverage value from digital. And unfortunately, there was a lot of examples of failure of organizations that had attempted to create this value, but after either a short few months or years, their entire digital capability, in essence, disappeared. And so I think that the thing that Teck has gotten right in this case is that we have merged the technology expertise with the SME knowledge. And that's what, I bring. I have a 20+ year career working in underground and open pit mining. And so when it came to developing tools and solutions, although I was excited about the cool technology that our team could actually develop, what I cared a lot more about was how it was going to drive different outcomes at our operations. And having worked in those environments for many, many years, I could quickly see and appreciate what would work and what wouldn't. And, Andrea comes, from a similar but different background.
So as Greg just alluded to, I come from a projects background, which actually brings some unique, skills to the table. And so what I can bring practically is project know-how. And even though the way we deliver software projects is very different from the way we build a greenfield mine, for example, the underlying principles of project delivery still stand. And so I'm able to support the team in really thinking through what we're building and why, and then supporting them in that project delivery capability. And then commercial acumen, I specialized in commercial contracts. And why that's really interesting for us right now is we're very focused on collaboration across our business and beyond. We really want to partner with peers and other digital or technology organizations to provide the solutions that our business needs and that other business needs. And so that commercial acumen coming to the table at this point in time is especially relevant. But I guess lastly, I'll double down on Greg's comment, and that is having people that intimately understand the mining business is critically important. And so on my team, in addition to data scientists and developers and all of the people you would expect to see in a software organization, we also have quite a healthy team of subject matter experts. Those that have worked in and around mines for the majority of their career have joined us in our team. And so they're part of the design and development of the software so that we know it's always going to solve that business problem. It's always going to support that user's needs. And it's that unique combination of the software capability and the mining capability coming together that I think has been incredibly successful for us.
Greg, what I really obviously want to talk to you today about is the whole Race 21 program at Teck and what happens now. There's a lot of press and media during the program, and after a sort of brief pause, Teck has started sharing some pretty cool things again. And for example, your speech at the Resourcing Tomorrow event in London the other week. Just for our listeners, I just wondered if you can just tell us a little bit more about the Race 21.
Yeah, certainly, Rob. So back in 2018, Teck was, I guess you could say, reflecting on where we were with respect to driving value through digital. And in many ways, we thought that we had done a pretty good job up to that point in how we've been leveraging technologies, and we'd done some truly cutting edge and leading things in our company prior to that. But as we looked around us and we started to become more familiar with some more nascent technologies under this broad banner of AI, and specifically with some of these techniques around machine learning and advanced analytics, we realized that there was likely a significant potential there that we could go after. And so, working with our management team and board at the time, we decided to establish a program around this that we called the Race 21 program. Now, RACE is an acronym. It stands for Renew, Automate, Connect, and Empower. And what the acronym means is that, first of all, with Renew, if you want to do anything with advanced analytics and some of these techniques like machine learning, you need enormous amounts of data. That is the bread and butter of these techniques. And so Renew for us was making a strategic reinvestment in sensorization and sensors broadly across the company to make sure we could collect data right at the front lines where we wanted to drive impact. But then collecting the data is not enough. You need to get that data to the cloud, because the cloud is where you have access to this high level of compute that's required to run these algorithms that we now develop. And so we made strategic investments in LTE networks at our mines and other connectivity. And so that's what Renew was all about, making sure we could get the data up to the cloud. Automate then sort of signaled that one of the core tenets of RACE was looking for how we could automate broadly across the organization. And so there was a number of aspects around certainly things like autonomous haulage and looking at autonomous drilling, et cetera, that you would think about when you hear automating, but also how do you automate in a plant, and how can you bring some higher levels of artificial intelligence into our plants? That's what automate was really meant to capture. But if you look at the greatest impact that we had, we sort of put that under the banner of the C in the acronym, which is Connect. And Connect for us meant and referred to what you could do when you connected information and data right from the face all the way to the cloud, and then bring these advanced techniques like machine learning and other advanced analytical techniques and develop digital solutions like happen now through to today in Andrea's group to solve real world problems. So Connect for us is where all the magic happened over this RACE program. And then the final letter, E, stands for Empower, which recognizes that although it's a digital transformation, the only way you can be successful with the digital transformation is if you think about the people. Because at the end of the day, these technologies are still technologies that we rely on people to understand, implement, and drive value out of. And so we wanted to be thoughtful about that during that entire phase.
Greg, again, did you have a ha-ha moment in the beginning of the program when you realized that this was really going to work? What gave you sort of the confidence that the program would be so successful?
Well, in full disclosure, I think like a lot of us, were a little bit concerned as we started going down this path because, as I indicated earlier, when we looked around us, we saw lots of companies attempt to do what we were now attempting to do and didn't see the success. And so there was a bit of apprehension across the team during the early months. But when it became, particularly clear to me that we were onto something is after a few months of the program being underway and after we started to deploy some of our first proof of concepts or minimum viable products to our sites. And I was at a couple of our sites, and to sit back and listen to the management teams, be able to talk about advanced analytics and AI broadly, understand what it could do, and then see with these new technologies in hands, although they weren't nearly as robust as we ultimately would want to deliver today, they could see how it was having impact in very significant KPIs, whether it be around throughputs or recoveries or our ability to treat water and water treatment plants. To see them describe for us how they were starting to create value from this is when I sat back and thought, yeah, there's something here. And it was great to actually hear it from them, because there's a risk, as again, I have already indicated, that you can start to drink your own Kool-Aid in this digital space. And so hearing it from the mouths of our operators in the early months was an important aha moment for us.
Andrea, one might assume that with the end of 2021 and the program, that the work may be concluded, but that doesn't seem to be the case, obviously. What has Teck been up to since you're at the head of digital analytics?
Yeah, well, if you listen to what Greg's describing there, really Race 21 can be thought of as a massive research and development program. And through that program, we delivered value, we delivered products into the organization that were driving value at the front line. But as we stepped back after Race 21, we really realized that the value of this capability at Teck was quite tremendous. And so we needed to operationalize that. And so the last 18 months, we've really focused on operationalizing our software development capability so that we're an efficient, effective in-house software team, and investing in the underlying technologies, such as a multi-customer streaming platform that enable our future development to be scaled, to be driven at pace. So those are a few things we worked on, really that operationalization of the capability. But the second thing is we've done a review of all of the products that were developed during the Race 21 program and found that a lot of the value is driven out of a key few products. If you think about that 80-20 rule, it really applies here. So we looked at the 20% of the products that were driving material value for our organization, and we said, how do we take these capabilities, these feature sets, these tools, combine them into larger, more robust, scalable, commercial grade solutions, and then scale them at pace across all of our 8 mining operations and beyond to partners and peers. And so we've been doing that. We've built commercial grade software that emerged out of Race 21, and we're looking at increasingly collaborating with peers outside of Teck, and really becoming part of a mining digital technology ecosystem. I think that's key, Rob, at this point is we need that collaboration. We need to be thinking about a technology ecosystem broadly, because what we've learned is, certainly no one wants to do it alone. Piecing these things together is what's going to drive the greatest, most sustainable value for the industry broadly, and we want to be a big player in that.
We talked a lot about Teck, and I'm curious to see what's happening across the industry. What are some of the major trends in mining technology, and what are the big challenges that senior leaders like yourselves are trying to address when it comes to innovation, technology, and mining? And what advice would you have for other leaders in the industry looking to explore the use of AI in mining? And that question, I'll give that question to Greg first of all.
Yeah, Rob, this is a great question. I think that our industry is going through a lot of change in the last few years where, if you look sort of 5 to 10 years back and you talked about artificial intelligence broadly, you probably hear a lot of crickets in the room. We broadly didn't understand the technology. We certainly didn't understand where it could drive value in an organizations rather. And I think that is very different today. Like my personal view and conviction is that going forward, any modern miner really needs to be leveraging these techniques, just like we leverage other, capabilities around engineering, whether it be mining or processing or geotechnical, like developing and deploying digital solutions that augment and support value creation, I think is going to be essential going forward. And when I talk to my peers, I largely hear the same thing. I think we all agree that that's what needs to happen. But I think that we're in this period of transition too, where for the last few years, as miners, we were doing a lot of this stuff ourselves, like individually and independently. And you may think to yourself, well, I mean, maybe that makes sense because you guys are, you're not all the same company. You're somewhat competitors, although in a commodity business like ours, although technically we are, it's not quite the same as if you're public facing in what you deliver. And so our view at Teck is that, these are expensive products to develop. And although the value certainly pays for that investment, we're really asking ourselves, is there a different model going forward? Because, we don't think that there is so large a moat around the IP that we have developed that any other company, if they're willing to spend the money and take the time to do it, can't arrive at a similar outcome. And so, we're transitioning now, and we think that the time is right for the industry to start thinking a lot more collaboratively about how we can, start pooling some of our technologies and techniques, how we can leverage different things that have happened in different companies. So we're not all having to invest in developing the same things in a bespoke fashion. And as I'm talking to my peers, I'm getting quite a bit of interest in that notion of how we could collaborate differently in the future.
And the same question to you, Andrea.
Yeah, I guess if I was to build on Greg's answer there, I would say in many respects, the technology is the easy part. It's the understanding of how you apply that technology and not just how it integrates with the people process side of the business, but also how you build and sustain that technology in a cost-effective, reliable way. That's really tricky. And so kind of threading the needle there has been a big learning for us. And then it really leads to the desire to partner more, as Greg says, because you can obviously gain those efficiencies as you're able to scale technologies more broadly across more businesses. And so the two things of really understanding how to make that technology work for your business and how to do it in collaboration with others, I think is key and something that the industry should be talking a lot more about.
And the last question for both you, and obviously concluding, what comes next for Teck and digital analytics? And when can listeners stay up to date as you continue, obviously, to innovate and develop your digital solutions?
As I've been and Andrea have been sort of signaling all along, we're really feeling like collaboration is where the next period of time is going to be focused. And so, Teck is increasingly speaking externally about our desire to collaborate with other mining organizations, and that collaboration could be as simple as us sharing some of the products that we've developed to help support other organizations drive sustainability and productivity outcomes. But there's other types of collaboration as well. We're interested in looking at how we can maybe take a look at some of the technology we've developed and the technology others have developed, and maybe look at putting some of these things together where we both sort of win from that. Because as I've already indicated, it probably doesn't make sense for every mining company in the world to be building internal digital software organizations within their organizations. And so that's sort of where we're spending a lot of time right now. And Andrea's taking the helm with respect to that effort at Teck. And so she can share a little bit more about that.
I think you nailed it on the head, Greg. We're building, as I said, this commercial grade software. We're really excited about deploying it across all of our operations. We believe it will offer tremendous value into the industry more broadly, but we're also interested in understanding what others have and how that can help our business and how we might be able to help other mining operations be successful. There is such a demand for critical minerals today. There's not enough mining operations today to service the needs of the global needs for critical minerals, and we think we can be part of that journey, and we want to be part of that journey with others. So how can you find out what we're doing? Keep an eye on teck.com, but probably more importantly, reach out to us. Our emails, our LinkedIn's are not difficult to find. So reach out. We'd like to hear from you. We'd like to be part of that digital ecosystem, technology ecosystem broadly. And we look forward to working with many others on this journey.
Yeah. Andrea and Greg, really appreciate your time. Thank you for giving our audience an update in what you're doing in the AI space, obviously within our mining industry. And again, I suppose it is new technology, and I'm sure other miners will start to develop their own AI. And like you said, I suppose a little bit of collaboration with other mining companies will help push AI within our mining industry. So really appreciate you give us an update on your progress so far. You mentioned obviously the website where people can obviously follow your story. Are you on any social medias? Is Teck showing some of this innovation on any social media, i.e. if it's maybe not just LinkedIn, but YouTube or Instagram? Are you guys on there at all, or Teck on there at all?
Teck is active on many social media platforms, and so you can find us in probably any of the most popular social media platforms out there. And if you look up Race 21, you'll find some of our content from the program. We're holding back releasing content on some of our newer initiatives, but I think you can expect to see that in the new year. It's going to be a very exciting year for us at Teck broadly, but in digital analytics specifically.
Yeah, great. We'll include those in the show notes. I'll put all the links to the other social media sites so people can obviously follow what you guys are doing. So, as I said, really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your insights. And to the audience, hope you enjoyed that. Certainly something innovative. We have spoken in the past about AI, but not recently. So really appreciate your continued support. Please share this episode amongst people within our industry, no matter where they are in the world, but also people outside of our industry. If we're going to increase brand awareness within our mining industry, it's not about just digging holes and getting dirty. There is obviously new technology coming into our industry, and it has been for a while. And obviously, Greg and Andrea have just demonstrated that the mining industry is adopting AI. So there's obviously a lot of opportunities for people outside of our industry to come in and bring their skills and experience in technology into our industry. So thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode. And until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes, and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining, helping each other to improve the mining industry.